City of London. This award-winning union has gained attention from international media sources such as BBC One, BBC Two, and The Times, to name a few. Yet surprisingly, many of the students here at Goldsmiths put little faith in the union's ability to make changes in the university, with an overwhelming amount of students not even voting in this year's past election. As a Goldsmiths student myself, I'm wondering, to what extent can us students control our educational experience through student unions? So I'm here with John. John is a home student at Goldsmiths. So what are you using to get your funding to go to uni this year?
Like everyone else, I think like most home students, I applied through the student loans company to cover my tuition and maintenance fees.
Okay, so does the loan cover all of your costs, would you say? Or do you find yourself running short at the end of every...
Yeah, I do, because the maintenance fees didn't rise in line with inflation for the inner city, so I attended university prior to the fee rises, and I mean I was looking at, even just for university halls, about a £300 or £400 rise in cost for just those basic facilities across the city. So yeah, but I think that's been a problem with housing across the city, that the pricing isn't matching the inflation rate.
So you think a lot of students are not going to have enough money to cover their housing?
I think, definitely from what I've heard from a lot of other students as well, it's a huge deterrent and something that makes them think twice about applying for university. The thought of costing, and eventually as well with the tripling of the fees, how long it will take them to pay off those debts eventually. Because £27,000 for 3 years is quite a long time. That's nearly the price of your first house mortgage payment.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of students talking about how you don't have to pay the fees back technically if you never make a certain amount of money. Have you heard anything about this? And do you find a lot of students that don't seem as worried as they should be, maybe, about paying back their loans?
Well, yeah, I mean, the current system says that if you don't earn over a set amount within your earning, if you don't earn a set amount within getting a job, you don't have to start paying the loans back. But I mean, that was their justification for raising the fees so much. They decreased the band. I mean, they increased the band at which you'd start paying back the loan amounts. But at the same time, I mean, the contracts aren't written in stone. I mean, ultimately, the student loan book is still in threat of being sold off to private interests, who could, change the interests or the conditions of the loans as they see fit necessarily. So, yeah, which does pose a risk to the country, because I mean, in terms of loans, it is quite a steady portfolio to have for the country's income.
Yeah. Thanks. That's probably enough. So I'm here with Shamavi. She's the International Students Officer here at Goldsmiths. So you just got elected.
No, I got elected last year.
So you're
current one, yeah.
The current one until June.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you find your roles were last year or this year?
Well, basically welcoming people, welcoming students when they come, trying to put on events for them, trying to make them feel welcome, which is quite hard to do because it's very hard to get them to actually get involved and feel like they should get involved and meet people. And so that was one of the hardest things. I'm actually doing it as job share, so there's another one, and so together we were just trying to reach out to people, I guess, because I, as an international student myself, it was one of the hardest things. I'm quite extroverted that way, so I would put myself out there and freshers and all of that stuff, but a lot of international students don't do that because they feel scared to.
Yeah, I definitely see that a lot of international students are quite shy about it. So you do a lot of the sort of welcoming committee thing. What about talking to international students through getting their visas sorted and things like that, all the sort of technical things?
We can't actually do much in that department because it's to do with the government and the legal system and all of that stuff, and it's really serious. But the only thing we can really do is point them in the right direction and then send them to the uni and give them the contact that they need to, like the international office basically, and then they have to liaison with each other and try and get it sorted. But we can't actually offer that much help when it comes to visas, which is really frustrating because
it's really difficult
on like the freshers pages and stuff, like throughout the summer we're kind of constantly checking it to see if people have, you know, issues and stuff, and we have to and like we had to make the international student handbook and like put that up there, and you know, but people with issues with visas, we just had to say, I'm really sorry, we can't really help you, but you can contact this person. But scholarship.
And the visa process, from what I understand, has a lot to do with having a certain amount of money for maintenance, and also there's restrictions on the amount of times that you can work. So have you been working?
Kind of like on and off part-time, but that's because I applied for that number, I forget what it's called, but you have to apply for
National insurance.
And then you can work, but again within the restrictions.
This is all about being an international student. It's really hard to get a job.
Yeah.
You've got so many restrictions on you. And also the tuition fees are also higher, a quarter higher. Well, thank you very much for letting me interview you. Have a good day.
Hi, this is CJ Lockwood. I'm here with Howard, our newly elected student union president. Nice to meet you, Howard.
Hi.
So congratulations on your win. You're just moving from one position in the student union to the other, correct? What was your former position?
So I was campaigns officer, well I still am campaigns officer.
Oh, okay, so the next
Until July.
Oh, okay. So you start your presidency in June?
Yeah.
So were you still doing lots of things during the summer term, or?
So as campaigns officer I started last year, June, July.
Okay.
So I'll just be doing that position and then moving over to put the president position with like a new SAP team and stuff, because you get 4 elected officers every year.
Okay.
And I'll be working with them next year. But they're all new as well, so I'll have already done it for a year.
Okay, so you've been one of them. Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good position to be in. So
exactly,
you know exactly how hard it is.
I know how things sort of work, and I won't really waste too much time at the start of the year trying to figure that
Figure it out, yeah.
But also
That's
kind of
really
like helping the new SAPs as well and
Yeah.
knowing the ropes.
So what year are you?
I'm second year politics.
Second year
finished
politics. Okay, so you were a first year and you started being active in the student union straight away.
Yeah, pretty much like I came in around 2010 when the student movement was pretty active at the time.
Yeah.
It was when the tuition fees were about to be tripled.
Oh yeah.
So you know things like Millbank kind of demonstrations on there. So that's really what kind of radicalised my input. And then from that I got involved in the student union.
So speaking of housing as being one of your standing points during your running, what were your other sort of important issues that you brought up while you were running? What did you stand for?
Yeah, good question. Like so housing was my main one.
Okay.
So I think that's quite a big thing. But I also have this thing where because we're an arts university, we kind of think like we don't do sports and we can't do sports.
Yeah.
So one main thing was to dispel that kind of myth and say, well, you know, sports and campaigns shouldn't be seen as two like mutually exclusive things. They can help each other. Like so, for example, you know, if we get our sports teams involved in some of the campaigning work that we do, they'll be all the better for it. And also, there's some things that the sports teams are campaigning for, such as like you know, space on campus to practice and stuff, which doesn't currently exist.
Yeah.
Which the
It's hard
campaigning
in
element,
London, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So the campaigning element of the union can do that can help them with that.
Yeah.
So kind of like exactly. And there was other things like I want to start skills sharing, because you know cultural students have a lot of different skills, things like just simple things like reading languages.
Yeah.
They can Photoshop on the website. So
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. So an exchange of sort of like personal tutoring between students, because we've all got different skill sets. Like he knows how to use the camera.
Yeah.
I could possibly teach you about anthropology.
Yeah.
If you wanted to know.
But it's exactly so. Like you could he's volunteering him for now, but he could teach someone how to use a camera, and then him replace him, and they could say if he wants to learn a language or a musical instrument.
Yeah. We make the most out of our universities,
Yeah.
especially because it pays so much now. What you were saying was one of the things that interests you in becoming active in the student union. Is that still a topic? Are we still talking about fees? Or
Definitely, yeah. The student union still has a stance on like free education. Like we still believe in free education.
Yeah.
Because we think, yeah. But education is kind of like a public good and not something that should be viewed as a commodity.
It's a service, yeah. It's a public service, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want the public to be intelligent people. So
Yeah.
how could you make such a difference?
Mm.
Thank you very much for
No
your
worries.
time.
Thank you.
It's been great to meet you.
Yeah.